Climate change has actually influenced the way people live and the way people react to each other. And we know that most of these conflicts are escalated to violence, basically because of the way we respond. We know some areas which get affected by drought. We know some areas which get affected by floods, the heat that we are already feeling as a country and globally. And especially now that the government has already warned citizens around the imminent coming of El Nino rains, the level at which we are ready, the level at which citizens are involved is going to determine how communities are going to have peace or they are going to get into violence because of scrabbling for safety. And so we're inviting you to this day that we can discuss and find what are some of these climate-related influences that affect peace, and how can we best prepare ourselves to respond and ensure that all people are safe, but that we're also keeping peace and we are enjoying, the freedom that climate is supposed to be providing to all citizens. And I hope at the end of this day, we shall be coming up with the recommendations or solutions that we think can be put in place to avert conflicts, especially in the face of climate change.
I think most of the things that you're talking about today are very critical. And when you look at the choice of the topic, I find it very timely in a time that we've just been in a season of drought over 2 years, 3 years in some areas, and over 5 seasons of failed harvests. And I find your organization, Kenya Community Support Center, very strategic and very timely, because the Republic of Kenya is going to lose 2% of its GDP on issues of climate change. And if that is anything to go by, then it might slow down all the sectors that we are looking at. And especially for the coastal region, we must remember that, our tourism sector is nature-based. This by itself introduces a new challenge of conflict over the little resources we have, bringing other issues like crime, bringing the issues of lack of employment. And to be very specific, I want to touch on 3 areas which I think are very critical in the coastal region. One is the issue of water conflicts. You all know, if you live in the coastal region, that there are conflicts around the pastoralists and the farmers. There is a major conflict around the Tana River Delta on issues of fisher groups, on issues of where to fish. So we are faced with that challenge of fishing. We are faced with that challenge of lack of enough fish, because again, there is acidification of the ocean. Then it brings out a very clear understanding that really conflicts are being brought because of issues around climate change. This issue of peace is very dear to this country, and what the coastal region is going through at the moment can be addressed through looking at these issues with a lens of climate change. The people who want to use mkoko, mangrove, they want to do roofing with it, they want to do construction with it, and yet it's not as much, and yet the reality is that this is an economic gain from the coastal region. But again, if it's not done in a sustainable way, it again presents itself as another challenge of affecting our marine and affecting the climate change. Thank you very much again, Kekoske, for giving me this very important opportunity.
Good evening, everyone. As I've been introduced, my name is Elphick Tosi, the founder and director 1 Million Trees for Kilifi. So when you talk about scarcity of resources, in this region. The coastal region, is grouped as an arid and semi-arid area. You will hear other stories about Muyuakae, where we're having the salt farms and the people trying to fight for land to graze. When you go to Tana River counties, you will find that the farmers there are also fighting for resources between Tana River County and Kilifi County. In Magarini sub-county, the reason why I'm basing more in Magarini sub-county because there has been a very vast change of human activities and the food security in that region. Before 2002, Magarini used to provide food for Kilifi County. But due to the decrease in the forest cover, which is more than 20%, now people cannot grow things in Magarini County without using irrigation. So how can we get back our water? It means we have to restore our forest. Honorable Mungaro has an initiative which says he wants to plant 1 million trees in Kilifi County. So the youth are really motivated, and they're really looking forward to restoring our lost tree cover. And it has shown that if the youth are empowered very well, they can be able to create a peaceful and livable community or society. We are still following up on the exportation of baobab tree. As you know that baobab trees in Kilifi, they are the only trees that do not dry apart from the neem tree and others. These are the only trees that do not dry and have a lot of history. So I'm inviting those like-minded guys who are in this webinar. If you can side chat, I'll leave my email is 1milliontreeskilifi@gmail. We are drafting a petition so that we can try and tell those in authority, that is the Kenya Forest, NEMA, our beloved governor, our CS for Environment, Madam Soipan, so that even if they are doing the exportation, it should be in line with the international standards, so that we do not lose the patent rights of baobab tree the way we did with Kiondo. Thank you.
Definitely, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this important issue that I feel very passionate about. So first things first, I mean, the Africa Summit, it's amazing that for the first time now, we've had our first convening as an African continent to discuss this important issue of climate change, because it affects us significantly. Despite contributing, less than 4% of the historic emissions, Africa is one of the most affected continents when you talk about climate change. We are also a continent that is, severely targeted for extraction, especially fossil fuels that are really big on the carbon emissions, and at the expense of the people of this continent. Over 600 million people don't have energy, or they're energy poor, and over almost 1 billion don't have clean cooking options. The continent has more people dying from indoor pollution out of not utilizing clean cooking, that is using firewood and other biomass sources of energy, than people dying out of HIV/AIDS. So we have more people dying from indoor pollution than from HIV/AIDS. How do we develop in a way that we're not talking about cutting emissions, but we're talking about avoiding emissions? It doesn't mean that with all these challenges we're facing, that Africa doesn't have the opportunity to show leadership on this issue, because we are able to, if we were to tap into our renewable energy opportunities, over 50% of the global renewable energy potential, can be tapped in Africa. And it's unfortunate that only 1% of the financing going to renewable energy is coming to Africa. So we need to tap into this money. And therefore, we need to show that Africa can leapfrog dirty fossil fuel projects and sort of move directly to the renewable energy, the solars, the wind plants, and the rest.
Thank you very much, colleagues and our panelists, for making this day very successful. We've had a lot of information today, and I know we have a lot of takeaways that we need to follow up with the panelists. So before you go, I will ask that you use the chat to introduce yourself and leave us with your email so that we share the report of this workshop with you, and also invite you to the next workshop, which we shall be convening bi-weekly. Thank you very much.